ever get to the end of your day and wonder, what did I actually accomplish? Yeah, you say, I have so much to do, I'm so busy. Cognitive load. It's like having too many tabs open on your computer. It falls off, the stress relieves, and the productivity can come up to about 20 to 25%.
We've all been there, feeling stuck in the grind, chasing that freedom we're aching to find. But what if the answer was clearer than you knew? With numbers and strategy, we'll walk you through. No more shame, no fear inside. We're turning.
Welcome to Fearlessly Debt Free. My name is Lisa Marie Heinz, and I am so thankful that you're here. I'm so happy that you're tuning in and you're joining along on this journey, because let's face it, we're in this together. We're trying to help each other and encourage each other. So today we are here talking about a conversation that maybe is something that you do right now. Maybe it's not. I'm not really sure. But we're talking about what are the right steps here and now that you can take to relieve some of the stress in your life, to relieve some of the things that maybe you're holding on to in ways that are not really healthy. But I think it's one of the things that many of us need more than we realize. And we're going to talk about scheduling. And I don't want you to think about it as it's rigid, oh, it's not for me, it's color coded, it's overwhelming. I don't want you to think of it in that way at all, but in the way that actually relieves pressure, it relieves stress, to clear your mind, to create space for your life and your finances. It's a really great thing. So come along, and hopefully the things that I say to you right now in these next few minutes will give you some ideas that you can put into action immediately. So let me ask you this question. Have you ever gotten to the end of your day and you thought, oh my gosh, I've been so busy all day. I've done a million things. I've had calls coming in and running in and out and driving here and driving there, or the list is long and long. But you can look at the end of the day and say, what did I actually accomplish? Or maybe it's the complete opposite. Maybe you felt like you were behind before the day even started because you had a list the length of your arm. Don't know if anybody can relate to that, but I do. I see it all the time in our conversations, and it's not always the people that I'm talking to that have too much to do. It's everything that's living up here. Yeah, you say, I have so much to do, I'm so busy, but the things that we're trying to hold on to are in our mind, and that can create a lot of havoc. When I talk to people that tell me this, it's a lot of stress, it's a lot of pressure. The brain feels like everything in that case is urgent when we try to remember it all. And that's where the pressure comes from, the stress comes from. And there's research around this that when we keep everything in our mind and in our head, it creates something called cognitive load. It's like having too many tabs open on your computer. And I laugh when I say that because I look over here to my computer and there's a million tabs open. I actually had to shut a few tabs down to be able to come on here today. Everything slows down and nothing feels clear when that happens, when you have all those tabs open and you're trying to remember it all. And the studies show that when you begin to write things down, on the flip side of that, it creates a nice, even space for you to have a plan. Even though it's a loose plan, it's nothing rigid, the stress actually drops. It falls off. The stress relieves, and the productivity can come up to about 20 to 25%. So if you can imagine that for a second, if you knew that just writing something down or just putting it somewhere, not in an organized way, just putting it on a list, you could increase your productivity by 20 to 25%. That should be something that could get you excited. And it's not because you're not doing more at all. It's really that you're just letting it exit your brain. Your brain has to work less. But because you're not trying to carry it all mentally, there's that initial physical release that you feel when you do that. This is where something very, very simple and practical comes in. And as we all know, this feeling at one time or another has maybe come upon you that you are trying to think of it all and remember it all. Maybe you're driving down the street. Maybe you woke up in the middle of the night. Maybe you're in the middle of doing something and all of a sudden something pops in your mind and you're like, ooh, I need to remember that. Could be a bill that you need to pay or a call that you need to make, but something that you definitely don't want to forget. And what do? You all know it. But we all try to hold on to it and we tell ourselves, okay, I'll remember that. There's no way I can forget that. That's too important. And then 5 minutes later, poof, it's gone. Or worse, it stays in your mind all day long, just sitting there taking up space. And that's not healthy either. Or maybe it's in the middle of the night, like I said, and that thought comes to mind. And you're like, oh, okay, I will definitely remember this. You tell yourself that you'll remember, but in many cases, you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh my goodness, I know I have to remember something, but I can't remember. So here's a small shift that you can make right here, right now, that could make a really big difference. In the moment that something comes into your mind, capture it. Just imagine that snapshot, capture it, put it on a list. Keep a pen and a pad around so that you can make a note. Take a note off your phone. You have the notes section in there. Click the side button of your phone and say, take a note. And your phone will typically, if it's a smartphone, it'll take a note for you. Or jot it down very quickly. And you can leave a notepad by your bed. So you don't have to have your phone by your bed, which isn't a good idea. But just a notepad so that you can scribble it down in the morning. You'll probably laugh because you probably did it in the middle of the night. So you'll probably have to figure out what it said. But you don't have to have any organization at that time or at that moment. No, don't stress yourself out with that part of it. Just get it out of your head. And then later, when the time is right, or it's in the morning, or you're going over your day to know what you have to do, maybe you're back to your office, you can pull up that note and you'll have a few quiet moments to then put some organization to it. That's when the notes, they find a place. That's where you put them where they belong, or maybe it becomes a reminder in your calendar. Maybe it becomes a part of your weekly reset. You're not trying to solve it in that moment, remember. You're simply releasing it from your mind. And I know that's been repetitive for the last few things that I've said, but it's that important. I want you to notice something, that when you do this, there is that exhale. There is that physical release in your shoulders or in your mindset, because your brain no longer has to hold on to it anymore. And that alone can start to relieve so much pressure. So check this out. The average person, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, we spend about 2.5 hours a day just trying to refocus on the things that we're being distracted from. So we have those 2.5 hours of distraction each and every day on average. That's not a time problem. It is a structure and a distraction problem. We bring it into our scheduling conversation because it's a simple, easy fix, but it's going to take some time. And of course, we have to get into a new habit. And I want to be really careful here, because this is where you're either going to lean in or you're going to completely shut down, and you're probably going to click onto something else, or your phone just rang or something. But some of you that are listening right now, you are what I lovingly call the go with the flow people. And little secret here, if you look up go with the flow, you'll probably see my picture in the dictionary next to go with the flow, because that's my personality all day long. And it took some time, but there's some systems in place right now that are very, very effective. This episode is brought to you by Fearlessly Debt Free. Do you have great income, but the debt just doesn't seem to be going down fast enough? Just know that you are not alone. At Fearlessly Debt Free, I help people just like you pay everything off. Credit cards, loans, even mortgages, in half to a third of the time, for half to a third of what you owe. And no, this isn't budgeting, it's not debt consolidation or bankruptcy. It's math, it's strategy, and it's automatic. And it works. How would it feel to be completely debt-free and to start building incredible wealth much, much faster? Schedule your free Debt to Wealth discovery call today at fearlesslydebtfree.com and take your next steps fearlessly. But you are the creative, adaptable. You make things happen in the moment, and that's great and that's awesome. You don't want to feel boxed in by any schedules, and you just want to go with the flow. So who can relate with that? Anybody listening, can you relate? And then there are the others that you love a plan and you love a list and you feel peace when you know what's coming next. I just had a visual of my father-in-law. He had lists everywhere. Of course, it's before the smartphones are what they are today, but he had lists all over the place and he just kept crossing off the list. And that was a tangible thing that he could do, and he did it very well. But sometimes those two personalities, they look at each other and you think, I could never live like that. Oh my goodness. But here's the truth, both of you can be incredibly successful. And this isn't about changing who you are, it's about giving yourself just enough structure to reduce that pressure without taking away from who you are and your personality. And we'll talk about how this can actually look in reality, in real life, and just not in theory. But I'll give you a couple of things that you can do. We'll call it do it right now tools. How's that? So, tool number one, it's a simple calendar. Remember, we don't choose perfection here. It's simple. Keep it simple. I'm going to start with something that is very powerful, very simple. And again, it is your calendar. But now, before you think about it, I want you to imagine what that could look like. Maybe you're saying to yourself, well, I've tried that. It doesn't seem to work for me. But hang on here for a second. Just stay with me. You don't need to have a plan every single second of the day. You really don't. That's not how I use my calendar. That's where we get overwhelmed, right? So instead, I want you to think of this calendar as creating anchors in your day. A few of those anchors could make you really successful. You can use something like a Google Calendar, which the Google Calendar is something that I really like. It's got a lot of great opportunities to keep it simple, and searching is really simple on that calendar. And you can set reminders on there, and you can color code it on there. And if you want, you can move things around really easily. And it's very, very flexible. You can even have that calendar talk to other calendars. So I personally make that my main calendar, and it talks to my business calendar. So whatever I book on there talks to that business calendar, and whatever works on my business calendar talks to my personal calendar. But here's the key to all of that. When you start, if you've not used a calendar like this before, and I know many of you that are listening to this probably don't, because I hear it all the time, that there's other ways that you're working. Maybe it's a tangible calendar that you can have in hand, but not a lot of people do use the calendar. But when you do decide to take this jump and go into a calendar to keep more organized and get things out of your head, start with 3 things. That's it, just 3 things, not 15, not 50, just 3. Maybe those 3 things could be things like it's time to check your finances, or time to focus on some income producing work, or it's a time to really step back and do a reset, take some deep breaths. That's it. You're not building a perfect life right now. You're doing it with your time frame in mind, keeping it your personality and keeping it something that you can do. You're creating intentional direction with that first tool, that calendar. The second one is to turn off distractions. And this is a big one. It really is. And those distractions, they're quietly stealing much of your time. And you know what that is? That's our phones. That's one of the biggest distractions that we have right now. And I'm not saying to throw your phone away by any stretch, but I am saying that at times you need to become more intentional. And remember the 2.5 hours a day that I was talking about just a moment ago? Those 2.5 hours, that's a big piece of what's going on with our phone. We're working, things are happening, we're focused on something, but then the phone goes off and there are constant interruptions. You can put your phone on silent. You can put your phone in another room. You can do some of those things so that you're not interrupted. You can also flip it over, even if it's next to you. And again, lots of options to click those silent buttons or just keep it out of sight. So if you put it in that other room or you turn it over, do a timer for 30 minutes. Just give yourself that space. And what you'll notice is over time, because it will take time, I relate it back to being on a cruise ship before they gave you all that Wi-Fi. You couldn't have your phone if you aren't on a cruise ship. Couple days goes by and then you're like, oh, this feels really good. Your mind starts to settle. You start to physically feel different. You're not constantly being pushed and pulled in 5,000 different directions. And that alone can change your entire day, which turns into your entire week, which turns into months and then even years if you change some of those habits. And it's a really good thing. Okay, moving on to the third tool, and that is a weekly reset. Now, here's one that connects directly to your finances, and it's a good one. A weekly reset that we talk about is the ability to reset your finances. You set around 15 to 20 minutes once a week. That's it. And during that time, you look at your numbers. You see what came in, you see what went out. And you don't judge anything, you just become aware, because the awareness is what creates that clarity, and that clarity creates better decisions. And when you actually schedule this, it stops being something that you should do and it becomes something that you just do. It's not, oh gosh, I should do this. It becomes part of your every week responsibilities. And then we move on to tool number 4, and that is the priority rule. This one I love more and more each time, because this is especially for my people who feel overwhelmed the moment they look at the list. Instead of writing down everything, choose your top 3 priorities for that day. And with those 3, that's it, just 3. When you get them done, that's a successful day. And you applaud yourself for that. We talk about making sure that we're celebrating and noticing the little wins, and they turn into the big wins. And when you are continuing to do this, again, it adds up. The little bites that you do today will turn into big bites later. And what I want you to hear in all of this is that it's not becoming somebody that you're not. It's not about becoming perfection in all of this. This is just about the relief that it will bring you. And it's about taking all of that pressure, all of that mental clutter, remember, all up in the brain, and gently placing it somewhere outside of your mind. And when this happens, you start to breathe differently. You start to think more clearly, and your decisions, especially around money, they become calmer, they become more intentional, and they become more aligned with all the things that are important to you. How many times do we do things and we're like, man, I can never get that time back? And then if you're sitting there thinking, I know, I need this. This is, she's speaking to me. How did she know? I don't want you to think that you can't do it, because you can. And maybe you're just saying to yourself, I don't even know where to start. And that's exactly where I come in. And inside the discovery calls that I do each and every day, which are amazing, we walk through your numbers, we walk through your habits, maybe the time that you're spending during doing certain things, and then we talk together. And before you know it, you have a clear, simple path forward that works for you. And it's always individual. It's always personalized. It's not one size fits all. It's steps and it's a plan that you follow, but everybody's situation is completely different. But it's something that will fit your life. It'll fit your personality and, of course, your goals. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about having the perfect schedule. It's about having a life that feels lighter, clearer, and you're in control. It's not controlling you. That's it for today, Thursday Live. And hopefully you heard some of these tips and these tools that you can use and put them into action right away. I want to thank you all for joining me here on Fearlessly Debt Free. And remember, we're taking those big, bold moves towards financial freedom, which allows you to live a truly abundant life. And I paused there because I said big, bold moves. Yeah, they're big, bold moves, but you don't have to do extreme things when it comes to something like this. You take those little steps, and before you know it, you'll be on your way to feeling that stress be off your shoulders and having more clarity and more freedom to do the things that are important to you. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.
Rewriting your story, getting life on track. Your money, your terms, your freedom to claim. Enjoy this journey, no more of the same. We're turning pressure into